Hello and welcome to Pen Talk.
Yeah, hi everyone.
I'm Tony.
I'm Santi, and we're going to talk about some pens today.
So, the first pen we have up, it's a pen you might have heard of. It's the Pentel Wow.
Yeah, so we've got an offering from Pentel, which is one of the larger, more known pen brands. You might know them for more budget-oriented pens, and this is no exception. As per Pentel's website, this is about a 60 or 70 cent pen.
Yeah, 69 cents.
Mm-hmm.
Very inexpensive. That's on the low end for a pen. A lot of people think $1.50 for a pen? That's actually usually what they go for.
Yeah, that's an appropriate price for like a workhorse pen.
But this, we're doing the budget end with this pen.
Yep.
Where you buy it cheap, use it for a little bit, and then throw it away.
Yeah.
Not much to it.
So it's something you're just not afraid of really harassing or working hard with, because it's no big loss if you lose it, if you break it. It's a very inexpensive pen.
It's also, it feels pretty durable. First impressions, this is a big pen. This is a pen you wouldn't really expect to be a budget
It's
pen.
a real thick body. Yeah.
It got a nice thick body. It's got a lot of rubber in the grip.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a nice uniform color.
Yeah.
The clip is pretty sturdy. Nicely curved. See that?
Yeah. No, it's got a good swoop to the clip. That's a nice touch, especially for such an inexpensive pen. You might not expect to see that.
Yeah, definitely. Now, there's some really different. You don't see this very much with this clicker. Now, if we take it apart, you'll notice you take it apart through the clicker, and that's really interesting. The cartridge, we'll get to that later. But the clicking mechanism is actually...
It's a one-piece mechanism.
One piece, pretty long, very simple. If you click the pen in, usually you click it down, and then you gotta click it again to bring it back up. That actually doesn't do it. With this pen, you gotta push down this little button, and then wear the cartridge in.
Yeah.
It would have sprung back up through that.
Right. And it's just a little small tab next to the clip, and that follows the same line. It's parallel to the clip, and that's where the push tab goes, and that's where the little protrusion on the clicker mechanism will stick through the pen body.
And actually, usually in normal pen clicker mechanisms, you're gonna usually hear two clicks. One when the pen, one when the mechanism starts turning, and another when you bring it up and it stops.
Yeah, and it seats itself in the grooves.
With this simple mechanism, it's just one down. Hear that? One down, and it just stays there. The little tab has locked itself into place right away, and then you push the tab in. One more click, comes right back up.
Yeah, so it's a little... It might be a little disconcerting. I know it was for me initially when I pressed it. You get the impression that it's not as premium a click as like your standard button down, button up click. But it's just a function of the pen design, and it's definitely not something that you should take marks off of product.
Personally, I really enjoy this kind of click. I think it's a nice, it's a different variation that you can have, and it sort of separates this pen. It makes it, and you'll see there's a lot different about this pen, but this is sort of the loudest thing that's different about it.
Yeah.
And I really enjoy this. I took to it immediately. I like pens that are different, and this pen's clicker exemplifies that. It really, it's a fun thing to fiddle with. I'm a fiddler. I have restless hands, and this is a great thing. You got your thumb right here, pointer, index finger. You can fiddle with this hours.
Yeah.
Provided you're doing something else.
Effortless fiddling.
Yeah. That's...
Yeah. So when it comes to fiddling, it's important to have that good sort of in-the-hand feel, and the thick body pen allows for that very easily, for flicking it around and stuff. It's very agreeable with your hand shape. It's easy to sort of toss between your fingers and
Definitely
manipulate, because you've got a whole lot more pen to grab onto than even, say, like a medium type body, like a G2. And those angles also give a very unique hand feel.
Oh, yeah, we haven't mentioned that yet. If you can see, the pen is actually a triangular shape.
Yeah, if you look down the length of the pen body, you might be able to tell from there. But yeah, the whole thing is a triangular relief. So
not a circle,
yeah,
like most pens are.
So it's very clear where they intend for you to rest your fingers. I don't think they plan for you to rest it on the ridges of the triangle, because that's pretty unsteady. And you get good purchase when you put your fingers on the flat parts. And you've got this long grip, which is nice, and that's a rubberized grip. Interesting little points about the rubberized grip is that it sort of slides around on the pen body. It's not fixed in place.
But it does stay pretty well because of the triangular shape.
Exactly.
Sturdiest geometrical shape.
True.
For sure.
And since there are three sides, it's a triangle, right? There are three faces where you would expect some sort of ridging or siping cut into the grippy material. But only two of the faces actually possess little sipes.
That is interesting.
Which is very,
Could that be a budget decision or a styling decision?
Yeah, it's a very interesting design choice, but I feel like if it's the bald side that's resting on your middle finger, if it's resting on the flat of your finger instead of the tip of your index finger or your thumb, the siping is nice for the tips of your fingers, but that flat face, it sits pretty nicely on the flat of your finger. So
I do agree.
If that's what they intended, there's just nothing to complain about because it works very well and it does its job.
And it has a very actually short tip.
Yeah.
After the long grip, so it kind of comes out, and the rubber itself is quite fat, and the rubber itself kind of brings it out a little bit, and then it's a rather steep decline, straight into the triangular tip.
Right. And as we touched on this before, there's no way to unscrew it up at the tip or in the middle of the body. It's taken apart exclusively through removing the clicker from the back of the pen.
The spring doesn't want to come out.
Yeah, so...
The spring stuck on up in there. We can't really get to that. It appears to be, it's not a very heavy-duty spring. You can see that. The whole pen is actually somewhat opaque, so you can see what's inside of it.
Except transparent, that is.
Transparent. The opposite of opaque.
Yeah. So it's like a crystal blue.
Yeah.
I'd say. And we may not have mentioned that this is the sky blue variant of the Wow.
Yeah. Not black. Sorry. We're pen talk, not color talk.
Yeah. You know, we got to work with what we can get.
Yeah. Now the ink cartridge itself, very, very small.
It's minuscule.
It's tiny, and it's also very feels weak.
Yeah, it's flimsy. You know, your average ballpoint cartridge. It's nothing out of the
your
ordinary.
average budget ballpoint.
Right, your budget ballpoint cartridge. It's nothing out of the ordinary in that realm of pens. So it's thin body, ballpoint. Not very exceptional, but it is rather short, which is interesting.
Yeah, and I believe that's due to the rather large design with the clicker.
Right. You're forced to seat the pen lower down in the mechanism than you would otherwise.
Yeah. Let's give it a rate. Oh, about the tip. This is a 0.7 version, and the tip pretty standard ballpoint. Nothing to write home about. It's your ooh.
Oh,
that is exciting. Got stuck in there. All right.
Yeah, with those exterior body holes, when you're reassembling it, pen might shoot right through.
All right. This is one piece of paper on a pad.
And we could probably go to a fresh sheet today.
Yeah. Let's try it.
Yeah. It's a well-used sheet of paper, so. You know.
So I'm giving it the name test right now.
Classic name test.
So I can tell right away it's pretty smooth. As it advertises. It claims to be a budget pen, but also a very smooth one, and I would have to agree with that.
It fits the bill.
It works well on a pad. It's a good thickness on a pad, actually. Lots of pens, when they're on a pad, they'll tend to write bolder and
True.
wide. The ink
Yeah.
will disperse
This
very
is especially
wide.
true for a rollerball with a more free-flowing ink, more mobile, that is. And this has a more viscous ink than that.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. So definitely a ballpoint will fit that better. The writing will seem to change less in comparison because it doesn't tend to bleed as much into the surface that you're writing into it.
Definitely.
Yeah. So, name test as well. Just starting out the letter in my first name, you can see there's a little bit of an ink deposit that it leaves behind. So it does tend to gum up a little bit on the trailing edge of the tip where you're writing. It leaves some ink deposit.
And for a
on
lot,
that.
that's not a big deal for your note takers. You're not
No.
really going to care.
And that's the case with a lot of pens, so it's
But
nothing to...
if you find yourself to be a finicky writer, you want to watch out for those ink deposits.
True, and especially if you're a lefty, leaving deposits like that behind,
Oh, yeah.
those will dry a lot slower and will have the tendency to smear across if
Yeah.
you're using your hand.
So now let's give it the single sheet on hard test.
Right? Hard surface,
Right.
this is stainless steel wrapped over a table, so...
Yep, that it is losing some of its good ink displacement.
Sure.
It's not doing bad. It's definitely not doing bad, but it's struggling. I'm pushing pretty hard to get this this dispersal.
Uh-huh.
If I write lighter,
It really
you
seems
won't-
to
you won't
peter
be
out.
able to see it.
Yeah, if you let up on the pressure.
Although on the hard surface, not as bad of ink deposits, but obviously that goes to figure because you're not using as much ink,
Yeah,
so it's not gonna gum up as much.
right. And so, if writing with ballpoint pens or even art with ballpoint pens is your thing, it seems like on the hard surface you can actually vary the line thickness, and you could possibly do a little bit of changes in terms of your thickness of writing. And so, I'll go straight into it. Yep, smaller deposits right away.
Yeah, definitely.
It doesn't connect letters that elegantly
Oh yeah, that is true.
so much as a rollerball might, right, with a water-based ink, because this is a very dry, viscous ink. So, if you tend to loop and connect your letters, it won't end up with that sort of looping, flowing effect. Your letters look a little more separate with this pen. It doesn't carry over if you lift.
I do have to mention though, this seems like a pen that you could write for a long time with this. The grip is,
Yeah,
I like it.
right.
The grip is nice.
The ergonomics of this pen lend it with a very comfortable hand feel, so you could write for a while.
And it's got a very big grip, and that's usually what you see in some of the more higher tier pens. A lot of expensive pens will have really fat grips. The Pentel Client has a really fat grip, weird design, but a fat grip nonetheless.
Yeah, and
Some of those $8–10 pens you'll have will have grips that actually go out a few inches and you can really smush them in. Some
Sure.
high quality rubber. This doesn't quite have that, but it's sizable.
Yeah, it's a wide grip, and Pentel, especially with the Client pen, they seem to pride themselves on a thicker body pen as a symbol of a more premium pen. And for a very inexpensive pen, it pulls off that thick body.
For a budget pen, it's got a thick body.
Yeah, so, but as with any ballpoint pen, it does require a little more pressure to write. It's not as easy with the ink dispersal.
Not as flowing.
So, I mean, and this is why people developed rollerballs after all, right? So this is a problem that's remedied and people have thought of it, but if you're an advocate of ballpoint, if you don't mind that, and you're looking for a wider body, this will absolutely fit the bill. She thick, but she cheap.
Indeed. Well put. Any final thoughts? Oh yes, the clip. Now this is actually a nice clip. It seems like the kind of clip you would find on a not budget pen.
Yeah.
On a workhorse pen, maybe. It has lasted me. I've played with this pen. This isn't a new pen, unfortunately. We try to test all new pens here on Pen Talk, but sometimes you just can't do that.
And you know what? With a pen that does its job, sometimes you don't need to test a new pen.
Yeah.
If you've broken it
Most
in a little bit,
definitely.
it's going to be writing in that area where you're going to do the majority of your work. You're not going to do the majority of your work
With a new pen.
a brand new pen. Exactly.
It just can't happen.
Right.
And so now back to the clip. It's got some nice curvature.
It does. It's got a good swoop, which is...
A good swoop, indeed.
It's got a G2-esque swoop. It's sort of out and
Yeah.
then tails
And
out. It's good.
not quite as pronounced.
It's true. Yeah.
Not quite as flashy.
Mhm.
You know, you're not going to be waving around, "Hey, look at my swoop," with this pen, but
Uh,
you're gonna get noticed.
yeah, it's there, and it's a nice touch.
The Pentel Wow. What do you think about that name?
Pentel Wow.
Exclamation mark.
It's a cheesy pen. Someone over at Pen, it's a cheesy name, that is. Sorry, not the pen. The pen is, it does its job, and for 70 cents, you know, how can you go wrong?
Yeah.
But
Well,
that name.
some pens have gone wrong at 70 cents.
Oh my goodness. Rest
The,
in peace, Zebra.
Zebra
Z-Grip.
Zebra Z-Grip.
Z-Grip ballpoint retractable.
Oh,
For a budget pen, don't bother.
don't. We'll do an episode later on it, but for right now, no Zebra Z-Grip. Stay away from it like it's radioactive.
We'll cover it, but just,
God,
you shouldn't spend your money on it.
No. Spend your money on this instead.
Yeah.
Not trying to limit any of your choices. If you want to go out and try some different pens, unless it's the Z-Grip, Pentel Wow might be up your alley. It might be something you can work with.
Yeah.
It comes in a whole range of colors. We have sky blue here.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a full
Comes
range
in
of colors.
normal blue, and that's usually a good sign for a pen. That
Right.
shows that it's distinguished. It's settled in. You know?
Yeah.
It's passed the test of time.
It's found its place in the market,
Yeah.
so much to the point where people are willing to, they want to buy that same pen in other colors.
Yeah.
So,
Most definitely.
it's in a comfortable spot. It's well established.
Now the cartridge, the BK440, not sure if they use that cartridge in any other ones, but you can buy refills for it. It's not that unknown. You could probably even find one on the ground. They're pretty common. Cheap pen.
It's a cheap pen, and we can look at the cartridge real quick. It says it's made in India. You know, it is what it is. It's totally fine. No manufacturing issues, and there's never a need to discriminate against a manufacturer for where their products are made, because if they make an appropriate product,
They make the quality.
then, you know, they deserve their business just as much as anyone else.
Any final thoughts about this pen?
It's a nice pen. I don't know if I would personally use it, but I can see where it would be appreciated. If you want that alternate clicking mechanism, good place to go for it, and
The
it's
alternate
very
clicking
cheap.
mechanism is sort of the bill of the pen.
Yeah.
And that about wraps it up for the Pentel Wow.
Yeah.
That are here.
That's it.
So next on the list, we have a pretty big name pen. Sure you all have heard of it unless you've been living under a rock for 20 years, I guess, maybe even longer. It is the Pilot G2. It's personally one of my favorite pens. It's the workhorse pen, I would go so far as to say. It advertises ink lasting twice as long as your other rollerball pens.
Yeah, as your average gel roller.
And
so
I love it. I think it's a great pen.
yeah, their claims, they may be substantiated. It's a very good pen. It's got a strong following in the market. This here is personally my daily driver. Not this pen, but this model, that is. It's the G2.7 in the blue. So, I mean, I feel totally comfortable with this pen. This is a walk in the park. This is everyday, taking notes.
This is one sheet, hard surface, writes like a dream.
Yeah, and the G2 is known for this. This is the classic
And
rollerball gel ink.
that
writing
right there is
experience.
a .7.
Yeah, this is a .7 mil ball on this one.
And right here we have a .38.
Yep.
You're gonna get a lot. You can get very sharp lines with this. It doesn't scratch. I mean, as much. You're gonna scratch when it's .38. That's just it's gonna happen
It's
with
a
any
given.
pen.
True.
And actually, stays pretty smooth. I actually think the .38 excels at writing on hard surfaces, because the water-based ink really kind of pools out nicely,
Yeah.
and you get a sharp, crisp line that doesn't really bleed through that much.
Yeah. And it's going to bleed through even less on this thin body because you're dispersing less ink than you would with, say, a .7 or, I believe years ago I had a 1.2 mil ball, G2.
Wow.
That
Those
did
are
bleed.
thick.
That was a thick ball.
That's that they actually advertise those as bold.
Bold, yeah, so that would be considered a bold pen. These
So
are
if you're writing and you want to show somebody that you're screaming at them through writing, try the .1. One point
1.2 mil.
1.2. That is
Really a thick
That is
ball.
a whole .5 up from .7.
That's a big difference.
Personally, we don't have one here today. The .5 is also a really good option.
Yeah, it might be a little harder to find in some places.
Blue, other colors, black is going to be well stocked.
Yeah, that's true.
That's a good color, but you're going to have a tougher time finding not .7 blues.
Yeah, this seems to be the blue G2 du jour, as it may be. So,
And G2 really does push its .7s, and they're good pens. They're just a little bit too thick for me.
yeah,
Personally, I tend to write small sometimes. I tend to write very close and connected, and it can make it a little bit less legible. If
right.
I
It
have
might
a
be too
.7.
busy with that thicker
Yeah.
ball, that thicker line.
But it's nothing you can't get over
Absolutely not.
with the G2 specifically.
Yeah,
Not specifically the G2 being a good pen.
right. And this is the G2, so you're likely very familiar with the physical aspects of it. So here it is. They're identical when it goes from size to size, except for the lettering is a little bit different. I have gold lettering on this blue pen, white lettering on the black pen.
And this pen, the blue pen is a little bit more opaque.
Yeah, it has a
And
smoked
the
gray
black
plastic.
one is a lot more translucent. And that's also the varying styles between the different sizes. If you get a .7 black, 0.7 millimeter black pen, it's gonna be about the same same variant as this one.
Yeah, it's going to be that same smoked plastic in the thicker variants of the pen, whereas the thinner ones will have the full clear, transparent.
And the grip is nice. It's got some bulbous features, and it goes out and then sort of in.
Yeah, it almost carries the same contour as the clip, which is a nice touch. That's a little bit of continuity from the rear to the front of the pen. But otherwise in the middle, it's straight cylinder down the middle, and then a tapered front, which is just a classic length. Nothing, not too short, not too long. It just does its job really well.
It's a good middle of the road.
Yeah. We can go into a deconstruction of it. This is, I mean, a classic activity for a G2.
You can take these apart all the time. They actually come apart at the middle. Pilot tends to do that a lot.
And I personally prefer this design more. I like it coming apart in the middle
Really?
as opposed to at the tip.
Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. G2 it works. Unwall Signo, I like that it comes apart at the tip. Because of the spring, specifically.
Because you can
Say-
access the
Say you
spring.
want to access the spring, this is pretty hard to get out. It comes out, but
Yeah, you got to do tapping. So
you gotta bang it. If you're in the middle of a big lecture or something, you don't really want to start banging away at your pen that stopped working.
right.
So just to get at the spring, that may be dangerous for your grade.
Yeah, that
Or
could be
your
a disruptive
promotion or
activity. And then to access the clicker hardware, take the cartridge and push it through the back
Mm.
to get to the clicker
Pretty
assembly.
standard.
And it's your normal sort of two-piece clicker assembly with little teeth, so it's got teeth in the housing, teeth on parts of the collar, so when you push it down, it rides down, twists, and then rides back up.
And this is a pretty compact design. Some pens actually have this longer. The G2, it saves room for its cartridge, which is really a beast of a cartridge.
It does. Even within Pilot's own range, the Precise V5 and V7 RTs, they have the same type of clicker mechanism, but it utilizes a much longer clicker head. So it takes up a lot more space inside the pen with clicker mechanism and devotes less of it to ink.
And it's a very sturdy mechanism. This doesn't feel like cheap plastic.
No. You know, I've never had a G2 clicker fail on me.
Never.
And that's just a testament to the durability. You know,
Definitely.
the amount of time you can put into one G2 body and it just never fails. There's not much more than you can ask for. That's really it.
So let's talk about the cartridge right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this cartridge, initial impressions, it's big. It's a big cartridge.
It is.
It's got plenty of girth.
Yes, absolutely.
Got lots of ink in it. You can see that.
It's got enough girth for anybody
That
out
one's
there.
almost new. It starts out about 3/4 full, and then the top is filled up to about, I would say, 1 centimeter away from the top with the inkless gel.
Yeah,
They're pushing it down.
right. The carrier fluid behind it,
and it writes for a long time. They aren't kidding when they advertise 2 times more life. And I don't know exactly, but it lasts for a long time. It's hard to run out of ink in one of these.
Yeah,
it's writing a lot.
You're almost like surprised when you run out of ink, because you could be running with the same pen for so long that it really, it starts to spurt and it's sort of a foreign experience, because it doesn't happen a lot if you run G2s all the time. This cartridge is manufactured in Japan, so while I say not to discriminate or otherwise call or make prejudices against any sort of cartridge manufacturer, Japan is known for good cartridges and good manufacturing.
It's quality stuff.
Yeah. With the black ink, the carrier gel behind it is sort of a yellowish color, and that comes, I believe, from bleed out from the black ink.
Yeah.
The other colors of ink don't really stain their carrier fluid behind that. Just the black, so that's normal if you encounter that.
Now, I have a story about the G2. I used to be totally against G2s. I would see people using them, and I would have no idea why, because I had convinced myself that it was a bad pen. And obviously, you've been hearing me talk about how great the G2 is, but I had a bad experience with G2s. I bought I went to Walgreens, bought a 4-pack, and I started using them, and the ink dispersal on this specific pack was just terrible. Like,
yeah,
they would barely write, and I would try other people's G2s, and they would work fine, and I'd be like, why don't mine work? And it turns out I got a dud pack. All 4 of them were not good pens, and that really turned me off G2s for quite some time.
Yeah, that's a real frustrating experience when that's your first experience with a product, especially.
So, G2 was worth a second shot. I found one on the ground. It was a purple, and I didn't have any pens, so I had to use it, and it worked like a dream. And now I'm a big supporter of G2s. They're one of my favorite pens. I think they're one of the best pens ever made. If I can go that far to say, this is one of the best pens ever made.
Yeah. This holds such a strong spot in the marketplace. It's got a full palette of colors, and we talk about that being a strong indicator. Full palette. Just all the colors you can think of. The G2 is equipped in that. Colors, ball sizes. It's just very established. It's well recognized.
It hits every area of what a pen can do.
Yeah, it's just such a strong entry.
There's a G2 to fit everybody's need.
Absolutely. such a strong working pen, really. You never seem to destroy a G2. It never seems to go to a point where you can never use it. The clicker never degrades.
There is one thing though. This plastic clip.
There is the clip.
This is what I would describe as the weakest spot on the G2. This clip, it's really thick, and that's good sometimes. But not this time.
Yeah.
If you play with it a lot, if you slip your thumb too far under there, it's gonna snap off.
Yeah. Just right off. And what can you do about it after that? Nothing.
There's no way you can get it on. You can't bend it back or anything like
with
the metal clip and the Signo.
Mm-hmm.
But that is the only weakness.
Yeah, and that plastic clip is just a feature of the plastic construction, and that's not a detriment to the pen. It's all very high quality plastics and very thick-walled plastics, and so it's got a very solid construction, especially for being something that's full plastic.
And it is. The clip is pretty unique because, as far as clips go, this comes pretty high off the pen. I would say half a centimeter, maybe.
Maybe
not that far.
Quarter of a centimeter, possibly. Yeah. But there's a big gap between the pen body and the clip, so you could really fit a lot of material. If need be, you can clip a lot of material without pushing the clip past the breaking point.
Definitely. But that does lead to a higher angle of incidence as it connects back with the part near the clicker mechanism.
Right.
And in my opinion, it sort of detracts from the design a little bit. If somebody likes sort of this bulbous, this 50s automobile vibe,
I would say this is more like a 90s automobile, you know. 90s. Like it's like a 90s Japanese car, you know, Nissan Silvia, Toyota Supra, per se.
Beetle. That's what I would say it looks like.
You say it looks, okay.
Looks like a Beetle.
That's valid, like a more modern Beetle, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really round.
Yeah, very rounded.
But the visual design does carry from the clip to the grip.
Yeah, it's a consistent design throughout the pen.
So, it's not bad.
And just the writing is sublime, really. There's nothing else to say. It
works good on a pad.
Classic.
Works good hard.
Gel roller experience.
It works good on a hard surface. Works good on a pad.
Yeah.
It works good sideways for quite some time. It's not pressurized. It doesn't cost a lot of money. There's no jet stream.
Yeah, there's no special marketing surrounding the ink. It's just, this is our ink, and this does its job.
It's gonna last long.
And you don't need anything else. It'll keep up with anybody as fast as you write.
Your office worker, your note taker, your student. You know.
This will keep up. No worries.
This will work.
Yeah.
So that is the Pilot G2, a legend of a pen.
Absolutely. So, you know what time I think it might be?
It's time to talk a little tea.
Yeah.
You hit me up with that.
Tea of the day. So, today's tea of the day, we've got Traditional Medicinals brand Throat Coat, which is a lemon echinacea tea.
And there were some specific directions on how to steep this tea.
Yeah, this is definitely a more interesting steeping process because their guidelines asked for a 10 to 15 minute steep time. So this is an herbal tea, so as there's no actual tea leaves in here, you won't approach an overly bitter, overly tannic
so you can leave it in there for quite
experience. Some time. Yeah, so it'll just intensify the flavors.
It has a rich smell, I would say. But the aftertaste, it sort of leaves this sort of
like a sweet
sort of
syrupy aftertaste.
Syrupy, yeah, exactly. And it just kind of sticks in your mouth for I don't know how I feel about it.
This could be the throat coating that they refer to, and it truly does.
No, It does coat your throat. If you've been talking loud all day, if you've been singing,
If you've been recording an episode of Pen Talk.
yeah, then this is gonna be a good tea for you. If you can handle it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just,
or even if you can't, just plug your nose and chug down a cup of it, then your throat will feel great afterwards.
yeah.
You'll be ready to talk for hours
Mhm.
about pens. So yeah.
Good smell, just very, very foreign. It's
different. It strays far away from your average
from the norm.
green tea, chai tea, black tea. It tastes different.
Right. Instead of that very tannic, like, tea experience or dry mouthfeel, it's a very, very moist mouthfeel.
Yes. Most definitely. And it's not as bitter as most teas get.
No, especially, no, it's
very much not.
with the lack of tea leaves, it avoids that sort of pitfall of long-term steeping that you might find. So, very interesting product, very interesting offering from traditional medicinals. And their packaging actually included supplement information, so they appear to be trying to pass this off as more of a home remedy, even than
your average drinking tea.
Right, than a regular cup of tea in the morning.
It does well.
Yeah.
It's interesting. So, for our last part of Pen Talk, we have something that me and Santi don't really see eye to eye on. The merits of different colored ink. So obviously, pens start in black ink. They're gonna end in black ink. You're never gonna have a pen that's only colored unless it's a marker.
Right. Black
And
is the
quintessential color.
the
of pens.
prototypical color. Yeah. There's
And
it's just
there are merits to other colors. So do you want to enlighten us onto the merits of blue that you find?
I love writing in blue. You know, if you write in blue, any assignment that you give in, any sort of written material, that's going to really let that material stand out, right? Whereas if you write in black ink, you'll stand out from all the pencil writers out there, but you might get lost in another sea of black ink writers. Blue's, it's a hair more rare, so you approach it with a different mentality, right? You don't. It feels a little more.
It can make you stand out, and it makes what you're writing different, I guess, than the norm of writing in black ink. If you turn an assignment in blue ink, maybe it might be seen in a different light by your teacher or your professor. If you write your application for a job in blue ink.
That's a little standout element
tip there.
So that might set you apart from other people who write it in black or, God forbid, writing a job application in pencil. I mean, good luck getting a job then,
now,
right?
There is something you gotta say. We have two kinds of blue here, and one of them is professional and the other is not.
Yeah. This G2, right, the same model that I write day in and day out with, this is your classic deep navy blue.
Yeah. You're not gonna want to write something for your something professionally in this sky blue, unless you're a 12-year-old. I don't know. If you're writing to your grandma, write in sky blue. That'll be nice. But
yeah,
if you
or maybe even don't write to your grandma in sky blue because she might not be able to read it.
Yeah, it's not dark.
It's not very bold. It doesn't stand out. Avoid it. That's why people specify if you're handwriting something, they'll often specify blue or black ink because that's what they want.
And then we shouldn't forget the other colors. I would say the three main colors for pens would be black, blue, and then red and green are usually pretty common. You'll see those people.
Red's a very specialist pen, though. That's the sort of pen you would correct a document with.
That is.
You may be familiar with that from just going to school, of course.
It's the infamous red pen.
Right.
Yeah. It's school is UV the red pen.
Right.
And there's some merit to green as well.
Yeah.
Some teachers demand green in correction. I know I've had a teacher like that.
Sure.
Interesting fact.
What's that?
Have you heard of the poet Pablo Neruda?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Pablo Neruda wrote all of his poems. I don't know if he only wrote in it, but at least he wrote all of his poems in green ink, specifically. He thought green ink was the closest color you can get to your soul.
That's fascinating.
Yeah. And
yeah,
do you agree?
I wouldn't know what the human soul looks like in terms of a color, but blue ink is the closest to my soul.
Yeah.
So this is really the color that I feel passionate doing my work in.
Now, sometimes it is pretty hard if you're a adamant blue ink fan.
Right.
I know I was trying to find some blue G2s, and I like fine ink. I like fine .38, extra fine in fact. And I was looking online, and it was really difficult. There's not going to be any at the stores. There's going to be no .38 blue pens at the stores. It's just too niche of an item, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. And online, I guess the stores feel the same way. The only thing I could find for a blue .38 G2, the only thing I could find were 24 packs.
That's a lot of pens.
And
that's a lot of money to
$20.
put down.
I don't think I would ever be able to do that, because
24 pack of pens. Wow.
That's basically saying these are the pens I'm going to use for the rest of my life.
That's a lot of pens. Absolutely.
And G2s,
with the longevity of the G2, yeah,
they could last you forever. Signing checks and
signing checks, right? Signing a legal document. Yeah, if you sign legal things, legally binding agreements in blue, it's a little bit of a fraud prevention mechanism, because forging your stuff, forging your signature or details in black ink it's a giveaway. It's a dead giveaway, because if you sign everything in blue and somebody does it in black,
that's true.
You know, that's an instant red flag. So,
blue flag.
Right. So, just a little tidbit. Yeah, blue may be more informal in some circumstances, though. But if you're writing against like black typed text, and you're not making corrections per se, but you might be adding on to it in some manner, blue ink will stand out against that a lot more effectively than writing against black ink in more black ink.
But ultimately it does, another thing.
What's that?
Some old photocopiers, really old, like from the 2000s.
Old photocopiers.
Might not be able to see blue ink, so watch out, old people.
Yeah, old model photocopiers.
Who photocopy.
But I know that I've photocopied with blue ink.
It works.
Modern photocopiers, not an issue. I do all my standardized tests that call for ink, do them all in blue ink.
Why is that?
I just feel way more comfortable with the blue ink. I'd rather not step away from something that I know and trust to do that when there's no issue.
Ultimately, it comes down to your personal preference.
Yeah.
I like to switch between the two, but I would err on the side of black ink. I use black ink way more than I use blue ink, and I feel like my writing, I feel more comfortable reading my writing in black. It just makes more sense to me.
Right, and I'm more used to reading my own writing in blue. So I believe it's just something I'm going to stick with for the foreseeable future.
Now, one more question. Do you think preference on blue or black ink is something that you are taught, or something that you learn? The old nature and nurture.
That's very interesting, because I can't recall any specific experiences in my life where I would have been forced into using blue ink. It's just something that I believe I took up voluntarily, as far as I can remember, and I've just stuck with it ever since.
That's interesting. So, this has This has been Pen Talk.
Yep. Thanks for watching, guys.
Thanks for tuning in. I'm Sony.
I'm Santi.
And
keep on writing.